name, surname on chat box for attendance, your attendance. Okay, we will discuss about acid-base balance today. Okay, what means acid-base? As you know, of course, we have basic terminology for definition of acid-base. And pH means or represent power of hydrogen, and pH is defined as the potential of hydrogen ion concentration in body fluid. We can calculate pH of our body fluid, and sometimes we can calculate the other liquid material pH. It's possible. The amount of the hydrogen ion concentration is so low in our body, so it's expressed as logarithm, according to logarithm to base of the hydrogen ion concentration in milliequivalent per liter. You can see your pH formulation, negative logarithm of hydrogen ion concentration gives us pH value. A scale of the pH. pH scale is between 0 to 14. 0 onwards below the 7 means acidic pH, and after 7 up to 14, the solution is alkaline. At 7 means neutral point. For example, water have 7 pH, and it means amount of hydrogen and hydroxide ion are equal at the 23 Celsius. Normal arterial blood pH value is 7.35 to 7.45. And what means this value? Normal value of hydrogen ion concentration is about the 40 nanoequivalent per liter. So a negative logarithmic value give us normal pH or neutral normal arterial pH. You can see your pH and hydrogen ion concentration relationship. Increased hydrogen ion concentration give us decreased pH. A 1 point drop in pH results in a 10-fold decrease in hydrogen ion concentration. Hydrogen ion are derived from the hydrogen atoms. Hydrogen atom has a proton, a positive electrical charge with a negative charge electron which is revolving around it. And the hydrogen ion is formed when negative ion is lost, and it contains only proton. Hydrogen ion concentration is very active. Hydrogen ion is very active particle, and it leads to reactive some reaction, and its half-life is very short, and it's unable to survive on its own, and very small ionic particle. There is a very tight control for arterial blood pH or body fluid pH, because we need a steady pH for all metabolic function. And please remember, life is some of the biochemical reaction, and this biochemical reaction reach to their highest or high performance at some environmental conditions, and pH is so important environmental conditions, and we need normal pH or physiologic pH for our biochemical reaction. Enzymatic activity, blood clotting, neuromuscular activity, hormonal secretion, cardiovascular function, respiratory function generates or occurs within the normal pH, and all these reactions, all these functions need normal arterial or blood fluid pH. Hydrogen ions are toxic metabolism. And so these ions adversely affect all physical and biochemical cellular process in our body. Molecules containing hydrogen atoms that can release donate hydrogen ions in solutions. For example, hydrochloric acid is very strong acid, and we produce hydrochloric acid in our stomach, as you know. It's strong acid, and strong acids completely can dissociate hydrochloric acid or sulfuric acid. And we have weak acid also. Weak acid can release or dissociate partially, such as carbonic acid. What means base? Base, any ion that accepts a hydrogen ion. An example of base, main base for us, is bicarbonate ion. What means buffers? Buffers are specialized substances that neutralize acid or bases, and chemical reactions which reduce the effect adding acid or base to a solution of pH generates presence of buffer system. All the none of low molecular weight and water-soluble biosynthetic intermediates possess groups that essentially completely ionize at neutral pH. And there are some exceptions. For example, macromolecules such as proteins mostly charge anyway, or size-stripping or hydrophobic molecules. And the other one, lipids. Lipids needed intracellular are protein bound, and we carry us as lipoproteins also. And waste products, they are exceptions for need neutral pH. pH has an effect on protein functions. Okay. We need acid-base balance in our body, especially balance of hydrogen ion concentration in extracellular fluid. And why we need? We need this for maintain homeostasis. You know homeostasis. And in physiologic situation, we have a balance between hydrogen intake or production and hydrogen removal. Acid-base imbalances. What means acid-base imbalances? We are seeing two different terminology for describe pathophysiologic or imbalance situation. If arterial pH decrease, we are seeing acidosis. Acidosis is linked with the increased hydrogen ion concentration and decreased pH. Alkalosis is linked with the elevation in arterial pH above the 7.45, and alkalosis is dependent on the excess base ion. There are three ways to measure acid-base balance in our body: blood pH, especially arterial blood pH, blood PCO2, partial carbon dioxide concentration, and blood bicarbonate ion concentration. Normal values of arterial blood gases. pH is equal 7.35, 7.45, PCO2 45, bicarbonate 22, 26, and PO2 partial oxygen pressure 80 to 100, and saturation oxygen 95 to 100, and normal pH is slightly alkaline, as you know, as you see. How the body defends against the fluctuation in pH? Because of the compensatory system. And this system, one of them buffers in blood, the other one respiration function through the lungs and excretion by kidney. What means buffers? We have some buffer system in extracellular area and intracellular area. In extracellular area, extracellular fluid such as plasma and interstitial place Carbonic acid bicarbonate system and hemoglobin is the main buffer system. In intracellular area, proteins, phosphoric acid, and hydrogen phosphate system are buffer system. Bicarbonate buffer system. This system is primary buffer system for us. Kidneys assist by regulating production of bicarbonate ion to buffer bicarbonate buffer system, and lungs assist by regulating production of carbonic acid. Phosphate buffer system, other system. Phosphate buffer system react with either acids or bases to form compounds that slightly alter pH. And this system is very effective buffer system also. The other one, protein buffer system, the most plentiful buffers in the body because proteins work inside and outside of cells because we have many proteins in our body. And as you know, hemoglobin is the most important blood protein because our all erythrocytes full via hemoglobin, and hemoglobin is very important protein buffer system. And other proteins, of course. Protein buffers bind with acids and bases to neutralize them, both of them. And the three chemical buffer system work together with to maintain optimal acid-base balance. Blood buffer system. This buffer system serves as a first-line defense mechanism against some problem or changing in our acid-base balance. And bicarbonate is regulated by renal and respiratory system, and bicarbonate ion buffer system. The other one, protein buffer system, phosphate buffer system, and hemoglobin system. All the systems are localized inside of blood. Protein buffer system, hemoglobin is important buffer system, but it cannot be regulated physiologically. And acidic and basic amino acids in plasma and cell protein act as buffer system, and they are so important. And and extracellular phosphate system work as buffer system, but their role is minor compared to hemoglobin buffer system and bicarbonate buffer system. Intracellular buffers are needed because hydrogen does not cross plasma membrane, and we need an intracellular system because during the metabolic reaction, hydrogen ion generates inside of cell, and we need intracellular pH. Intracellular pH is normally more acidic, 7.3, and we have buffer system at intracellular area, cellular area. And organs involved in regulation of acid-base balance are blood, of course, erythrocytes, lungs, and kidneys. Hemoglobin is main buffer for carbon dioxide, and blood is very important buffer system. Blood buffer system is localized blood in the blood, and lungs is responsible for excretion of the carbon dioxide by alveolar ventilation. And kidneys is responsible for reabsorption of filtered bicarbonate, and because of this reabsorption, we gain bicarbonate ion from our kidney tubes. And in addition to gain of bicarbonate ion, kidney is responsible for excretion of fixed acid. And we excrete hydrogen ion about 100 millimole per day. And carbon dioxide production from complete oxidation of substrates and 20% of the body's daily production is dependent on the oxidation reaction. And on the other hand, metabolism of organic acid and ions such as lactate, ketones, and amino acids give carbon dioxide. In metabolism of ammonium, conversion of ammoniac to urea in the liver result in equivalent production of hydrogen ion. Last one, the other one, production of plasmaproteins leads to carbon dioxide production and also hydrogen ion. And bone inorganic matrix consists of the hydroxyapatite crystals, and they are important buffer system. Bone can take up the hydrogen ion in exchange for the calcium, sodium, and potassium ion, or release of the bicarbonate, carbonate, or hydrogen peroxide. And pH is constantly impaired by metabolism because metabolism leads to continuous production of acids. And you can see a complete oxidation of glucose and fatty acid and other energy sources lead to net production of volatile acids, carbon dioxide. And anaerobic glucoses, ketogenesis, amino acids, and nucleotide metabolism leads to net production of fixed acids such as lactate, phosphate, sulfate, acetate, something like that. And we produce many acids during the daily reactions or metabolic actions, functions. Our buffer system neutralizes them, and we excrete hydrogen ion from our lungs and also kidneys. The most important pH for the body is intracellular pH. You can see here in assessment of acid-base disorders, clinician is always looking from the outside pH, of course. We use extracellular results to make interference about the intracellular conditions, actually, but we cannot evaluate intracellular acidic environment or pH situation because we have billion cells and we cannot calculate whole intracellular pH. Of course, we have only one chance, extracellular fluid pH evaluation. Intracellular pH is maintained at about the pH of neutrally, about the 6.8 at 37 Celsius. Because this pH, this is the pH at which metabolite intermediates are all charged and trapped inside the cells. Extracellular pH is a little bit higher, 0.5 pH units. And this represents about a fourfold gradient favoring the exit of hydrogen ion from the cells to maintain it a stable value because of the powerful effect of the intracellular ion on metabolism. And we keep stable intracellular pH because of the intracellular buffering system, chemical buffer system, metabolic buffer system, and organelles, and adjustment of arterial PCO2 and also fixed acids from the cell into the extracellular fluid. And you can see the bicarbonate carbonic acid buffer system. And in lungs, carbon dioxide and water enter a reaction and we produce carbonic acid. And later in kidneys, carbonic acid, weak acids dissociate hydrogen ion and bicarbonate. We excrete hydrogen ion and we reabsorb bicarbonate ion. In lungs, we control carbon dioxide and carbonic acid content in extracellular fluid. Because of the PO2 value, increased oxygen pressure, this reaction enter the carbon dioxide and water dissociation way. Okay, and it regulates our carbon dioxide level also because we exhalate carbon dioxide. If carbon dioxide levels reduce, lungs decrease respiratory rate to retain the carbon dioxide and hypoventilation generates. If our carbon dioxide levels increases, our respiratory rate increases because elimination of carbon dioxide and this leads to hyperventilation. A slower response is generates within the 15 minutes. And you can see here bicarbonate buffer system in lungs, in hydrogen ion and bicarbonate ion enter reactions and gives carbonic acid. Later, carbonic acid dissociate carbon dioxide and water. And via alveolar ventilation, we excrete this carbon dioxide and finally we gain water and we excrete one ion. via this way. And you can see your pH and alveolar ventilation rate relationship. Change in the extracellular fluid pH caused by increase or decreased rate of the alveolar ventilation. A respiratory buffer system is a buffer system with limited gain. It cannot completely compensate for changes in pH. Only it's responsible for 50% of compensation. We need another way. Of course, we need kidneys for total compensation. And abnormalities in respiratory function reduce the efficiency of this buffering system. For example, who have emphysema or smokers' lungs, they cannot works efficiency of this buffering system, and they can present respiratory acidosis as a pathophysiologic situation. And also cigarette smoking also has, a smoker has also high concentration of carbon dioxide. And so in these conditions, the body becomes heavily dependent on the ability of kidneys to compensate for acidic load. Bicarbonate carbonic acid buffer system in kidneys. Kidneys is responsible for regulation of bicarbonate ion in extracellular fluids. In acidosis, kidneys excrete more hydrogen ions and conserve bicarbonate ions to restore balance. In alkalosis, kidneys retain hydrogen ions and excrete bicarbonate ions to restore balance. And it's very slow response, takes hours to days, but the most effective of buffer system. It's very powerful buffer system, but duration is long. Kidneys control acid-base balance by excreting either an acidic or basic urine. Kidneys filters large volume of bicarbonate ion. We excrete bicarbonate ion and later reabsorb. And because of reabsorption of bicarbonate, we excrete one hydrogen ion and we gain one bicarbonate ion from our kidney. Okay, you can see a reaction in kidneys. Carbon dioxide and water give carbonic acid. Okay, but carbonic acid dissociate hydrogen ion and bicarbonate ion. We secrete this hydrogen ion and we reabsorb bicarbonate ion as a summary. Okay, it's enough for you. Okay. The nephrons must secrete a total of the 4,320 milliequivalent of hydrogen ion per day in order to complex with carbonate to reabsorb it. In addition to this reabsorption, an additional 80 milliequivalent per day of hydrogen ion is secreted to facilitate the excretion of non-volatile acids. So the kidneys must secrete a total of the 4,400 milliequivalent per day hydrogen ion to tubular fluid. You can see here again secretion process. Carbonic acid generates inside of tubule lumen and dissociate water and carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide enter the cell and we use water for reaction. At tubular lumen, and later this carbon dioxide together with water gives carbonic acids, and this carbonic acid dissociate bicarbonate ion, and this bicarbonate ion enter the blood, and hydrogen ion again secretes lumen. Okay. Yes, and they are very detailed. You don't need. Okay, in distal tubule, we secrete hydrogen ion via a pump, specific pump, hydrogen ATP ACE pump. The urine can only accommodate a small percent of the free hydrogen in solution. So much of hydrogen to be excreted must complex with other buffering gases to facilitate its excretion, especially phosphates and ammonium. urat and citrat also combine with hydrogen ion to get it out into the urine. You can see here this complex. Ammonium generation. Too much detail. We don't need. Okay. If we lose our normal pH or neutral pH in acidosis or in alkalosis, we lose all biochemical reaction, and maybe this situation lead to that. Acidosis means increased hydrogen ion concentration, accumulation of hydrogen ions in our body fluids. Alkalosis occurs when bicarbonate accumulation or loss of hydrogen ions. And we can analyze arterial blood sample, and later we can evaluate pH and the other arterial blood gases parameters. And we can talk about acidosis or alkalosis. And this acidosis sometimes is linked with the metabolic problem, sometimes linked with the respiratory problem, and this way is the same for alkalosis also. During alkalosis, excess bicarbonate is not bound by hydrogen ion and is excreted, and effectively increasing hydrogen ion in the circulation, reversing the alkalosis. In acidosis, kidneys reabsorb all the bicarbonate ion and produce additional bicarbonate for reverse the acidosis. And we use compensatory system for recovery this problem. Sometimes we can success, sometimes we cannot. Okay. You can see here some disturbance in respiratory system. In acidemia or in alkalemia, of course, respiratory rate change because respiratory center of brain takes stimulation via hydrogen ions, and it leads to decreased respiratory rate and changing in respiratory rate and carbon dioxide excretion. It's enough for you because it's a little bit detailed topics actually. Do you have any question? Sorunuz var mı arkadaşlar? Prezentasyonu görüyor musunuz? Arkadaşlar. Tamam. Introduction to endocrinology. Endocrine system. An endocrine system is composed of various glands located through the body, and these glands are capable of synthesizing and releasing some specific chemical messengers, and these messengers are called as hormones. And you can see your main endocrine system organs: hypothalamus, pineal gland, pituitary gland, thyroid, parathyroid, thymus, adrenals, the suprarenal area, ovaries, testes, and pancreas. They are classic endocrine glands, and we have some organs with endocrine functions: brain, heart, liver, gastrointestinal tract, kidneys, and fat. They are not classical endocrine glands. hormones. I'm sorry. The endocrine system has 5 general functions: differentiation of reproductive tract and central nervous system in developing fetus, stimulation of sequential growth and development during childhood and adolescence, coordination of male and female reproductive system, and maintenance of optimal internal environment through the lifespan, and initiation of corrective and adaptive responses when emergency demands occur. And cell communication system, but get remember, because we need integration of cell communications for normal activities. There are some important cell communication system, gap junctions, for example. These pores in cell membrane allow the signaling chemical to move from cell to cell. The other one, neurotransmitter, we release some neurotransmitter from our neurons, and this neurotransmitter travels across gap to second cells. The second cells may be another neuron, sometimes skeletal muscle cells, sometimes the cardiac muscle cells. Local hormones is secreted into the tissue fluids to affect nearby cells by paracrine, autocrine, or luxacrine effect. And hormones are chemical messengers, and after secretion, hormones enter the direct blood, and later via circulation they reach their target tissue. And what means exocrine gland and endocrine gland? Exocrine glands have ducts, and these ducts carry their secretion to surface or organ cavity, and this secretion leads to extracellular effects such as food digestion. For example, pancreatic enzymes are digestive enzymes, and they are secreted from exocrine pancreas part, and they comes to intestinal lumen via pancreatic duct. And the other one, endocrine glands. Endocrine glands have not any duct, and they send their secretion directly to blood, and they have intracellular effects. They alter target cell metabolism. Hormones. Endocrine glands means hormone producing cells. Endocrine hormone is a chemical messenger secreted in the bloodstream, and they can stimulate response in another tissue or organs, and neurohormone is the same. Target cell means have receptor for a specific hormone. And you can see a hormone action at molecular level, cellular level, and whole body level. Hormone bind their specific receptor on the specific cell, and later leads to change, some changing in cellular level or molecular level. At molecular level, hormones can lead to gene transcription, protein synthesis, degradation of some enzyme activity, protein conformation, and protein-protein interaction. At cellular levels, hormones can regulate cell division, cell differentiation, cell death, motility, secretion, or nutrient uptake. At whole body level, they lead to regulation and integration of the ionic and fluid balance, energy balance, or coping with the environment, or growth and development, or reproduction. What are the elements of an endocrine system? A sending cell, signal means hormone, non-destructive medium, serum, or hormone binders, because this hormone enter the blood and they cannot undergo degradation or something like that, because sometimes they carry via a protein, hormone binding protein, and protect against the degradation. And so non-destructive medium is so important for carrying them. And a selective receiver means receptor protein, and transducer means transducer proteins. Amplifier means transducer or effector enzyme. Effector means effector proteins, and response means cellular response. Okay, hormones It's a molecules. Hormone is a molecule, and this molecule sort functions as a message within an organism. Its only function is to convey information. Because of this function, physical descriptions of a chemical thought to be a hormone are not adequate to indicate the molecule's physiological role. A molecule is a hormone only when described in the context of its role in biological communication system. Definition of a hormone requires testing of that molecule in a biological response system, running a bioassay. We can evaluate hormone levels via bioassay. What kinds of hormone are there as a molecular structure? Proteins, polypeptides, or lipids, steroids, eicosanoids, amino acid derivative hormones such as tyrosine neurotransmitter, and gases, nitric oxide or carbon monoxide. We have different class of hormone. Hormone receptors are cellular proteins. They are localized on the cellular membrane, sometimes intracytoplasmic area, sometimes nuclear membrane. The hormone binds these specific cellular proteins and later leads to changing of transformation configuration of these proteins and start some molecular pathways. You can see here membrane receptors. Membrane receptors generally we can divide it three different major groups. Serpentine family, growth factor cytokine family have one transmembrane domain and ion channels. The other one nuclear receptors. Nuclear proteins that usually exist in pairs bind to specific hormone recognition elements area. And it means sequence on the DNA in the promoter regions of target genes, and hormone bind to these specific hormone recognition elements and later leads to transcription of gene on the DNA promoter regions. Transducers are proteins that convert information in hormonal signals into chemical signals understood by cellular machinery. They change their shape and activity when they interact directly with protein-hormone complex, and usually enzymes or nucleotide binding proteins that produce second messenger or change the activity of the other proteins. We will discuss during the endocrine physiology, don't worry. Some hormones leads to some hormones used to second messenger system. And how many kinds of transducer are there? You can see here large G proteins, adenylyl cyclase system, protein kinase A, cyclic AMP system, you can see here. And many hormones use different transducer system. Protein kinase C, phosphoinositase system, G proteins, they are intracellular signal pathways. Different hormone receptor system and transducers also. Effectors are the enzymes, other proteins that convert the transduced hormone signals into the biochemical chains that generate the cellular response to hormone binding. Feedback system, of course, we need negative and positive feedback system for regulation of hormones. You know negative and positive feedback system. And mostly we use negative feedback system for regulation of hormonal secretion. We will discuss according to hormones. And hormone receptors, transducer effector levels vary with time because the dynamic system. Some change over short terms, others over long terms. Levels also vary with the developmental stage, gender, health status, or daily time, something like that. We will discuss all of them. For example, pituitary hormone cycle, you can see here, and ovarian cycle and sex hormone cycle, endometrium cycle. These hormonal changes generate within the 1 month in a female, and you can see here always hormonal levels change. Can single cells make or sense more than one hormone at a time? Yes, cells can make multiple hormones, even of different chemical signals or classes. They can sense multiple signals and later they can integrate them. For example, ovarian granulosa may inhibit estradiol, androstenedione during the follicular phase of ovarian cycle. At the same time, they respond to follicular stimulating hormone, growth factor, estradiol, thyroxine hormone, and other subgroup of hormone. And how do hormone levels vary? Yes, hormone levels can rise, fall due to synthesis of hormone, degradation of hormone, clearance of hormone. In addition to hormone levels changing, target cell receptor transducer effector levels can also change with the age, sex, physiological or developmental state. Okay, do you have any question? Okay arkadaşlar, biraz bir ara verelim. 12'de tekrar başlayacağım, olur mu? Duyuyor musunuz beni?
Evet hocam, duyuyoruz. Tamam.
Tamam. Merhaba arkadaşlar. Duyuyor musunuz beni? Arkadaşlar.
Evet hocam duyuyoruz.
Hadise biriniz duyuyorsunuz en azından. Ben şimdi dersi bırakacağım. Biliyorsunuz Muhammed Hoca'yı kaybettik. Saat 3'teydi cenaze namazı ama şimdi 12.30'a alınmış. Ben ona yetişmek istiyorum. İzninizle dersi bırakacağım. Daha sonra telafi dersi yaparım, olur mu?
Tabii hocam, tabii.
Tamam, kusura bakmayın. Şimdi mesaj gelmiş. Ben de arada fark ettim. Hemen çıkarsam yetişebileceğim. Onun için ben ayrılıyorum. Hani oraya gitmek istiyorum. Görüşmek üzere. Hoşça kalın, olur mu? Daha sonra haberleşiriz. Telafi ederiz. Hoşça kalın.
İyi günler hocam. Başınız sağ olsun.
Sizler sağ olun. Hepimizin başı sağ olsun. Hepimizin hocasıydı. Sağ olun.